Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Action Figuratorium. My name is Mark Major. Let's get a lower third up there, people. I'm a person who does not hide behind an alias or a mask. I am out here hunkered down in my studio in Southeast Portland, and today I'm going to be talking about something a little bit different but still within the toy community, as it were. You see, a lot of times I will hear in other people's YouTube shows or in the comments all these reasons why Toys R Us went out of business, and everybody gets it wrong. So the first thing that you always hear, right, is that they went out of business, they went bankrupt due to competition from big box stores, specifically Target and Walmart. You can pull up some articles near the top of Google, and that's what they say, and those are wrong. Why? Because Toys R Us started in 1949. They outlived JCPenney's. They outlived Sears Roebuck. They outlived Montgomery Ward. Those were the big box stores, the big chains, the big franchises of the time. Those are gone. Toys R Us was still around, okay? Now, some people are going to say, well, it's because of video games. Everything is virtual today. Kids are playing games on their phones, that kind of thing, right? And then people aren't playing with, physical toys, that sort of shtick. Well, let me tell you, Toys R Us made it past the arcades of the 70s and 80s. They made it past the Atari 2600 console, which came out, I think, around 1980. They made it past the Nintendo 64. They made it past the Sega Genesis, and they were making it past the Xbox. It's not video games, people. In fact, video games and consoles would be a great thing to put in a Toys R Us for sale, because that's where kids gather. Why do I say that? Well, go to a GameStop, and what does GameStop have? They have action figures and toys and figurines there, right? So it's clearly not video games. Otherwise, why would GameStop have those things, okay? Now, some people are going to say, well, it's because of, e-commerce. Everyone, retail going to e-tail, going online. They couldn't compete the brick and mortar stores. They got their lunch eaten. Walmart does not have its own e-commerce per se. They outsource it to Amazon. When you go to walmart.com, you're actually searching Amazon. It just has a Walmart front end. It has an Amazon back end. And guess what Toys R Us did? They outsourced it to Amazon, to Amazon as well. So the front end said Toys R Us, which is a great brand. The back end was Amazon. So it's not that. Why did Toys R Us go bankrupt? The answer is because of Bain Capital and venture capitalists. And I'm going to show you guys that today. And from here on out, I don't want to ever hear again that they went out of business because of some sort of competition from e-tailers and big box stores, all that sort of thing. So everybody, in this episode, we are truly going to come together. We're all going to strap on that leather and we're going to hold on tight. So, for some of you wondering how this happens, how a venture capitalist will go in nefariously and ruin a company, here's what is currently going on with Bain Capital and Guitar Center, as well as Fender Guitars, okay? They get a bunch of money, the venture capitalists. They buy a significant amount of shares of these companies, to where they get control of the board of directors. The board of directors is who hires the management team, and they put in all the contracts then, right? And then what they do is they start opening up new guitar centers in new markets. So if they didn't have any Atlanta, then they open a couple stores there, then they open a couple in the suburbs of Chicago, and then they open some here in New York, right? And they show all this new growth, new revenue on the books. They take the books and they go and they get a loan. Once they get that loan money, they take that money and they give it to, that's right, they give it to themselves. They extract the money out in bonuses and all sorts of crazy stuff, give the executives shares, and they can sell the shares and they get them, right? It's currently what's going on with Guitar Center. If you look up Guitar Center bankruptcy, you're going to see exactly this tactic. Okay, so let's talk about how Toys R Us was done. Let's switch over, shall we, to browser cam. This is a lot of fun, isn't it? When we go to browser cam, I kind of like it. I think it's kind of cool. All right, so here's an article in The Week. It says how vulture capitalists, right? That's a pretty good one. Ate Toys R Us. Now, I don't like to watch YouTube videos where some guy just reads an article and then he says, oh, we were right. Like, you didn't know journalism, you just read an article. You weren't anything, all right? So I'm not going to read this, but I am going to cherry pick a few things, okay? Such as the trio. There was 3 venture capitalist group, KKR, Vornado, and Bain, right? Put up $6.6 billion to pay off the shareholders, but it was a leveraged buyout. That means they only put up 20%. The other 80% was borrowed, okay? Now we're going to scroll down a bit, and here's what I'm talking about. This is currently what's going on with Guitar Center. Guitar Center cannot make the payments on their loans. They can't even make the interest on their loans, all right? Here we go, this paragraph. Meanwhile, Toys R Us was paying $4.25 million to $517 million in interest every year. That's not even the loan payment, people. That's the interest. All right, so if you want to read through this article, it's a lot of hoo-ha and you'll get all the details. But if you think that I'm cherry-picking some sort of Alex Jones conspiracy article, let me show you this one. The LA Times. Do you think the LA Times is some sort of conspiracy channel? How Toys R Us was doomed by a leveraged buyout. Now, there's a little bit of spin the LA Times is doing because they probably owe someone a favor. There's probably some ad payment that goes on, pays for some people's salaries, and then they stuck this on and short-sighted strategy, as if this was some sort of a goof on the part. But it is not a goof. In fact, if we go back to this article here, this guy will tell you that I want to find this exactly how much money that they were pulling out of this thing. Bain, KKR, and Vornado will have to write off their investment, of course, right? Which means they don't really lose any money. They don't pay taxes, that's what it means. But they did suck around $200 million in fees out of Toys R Us, okay? That went into some dude's pocket. That didn't go to some company. That went to some guy, all right? Now, some of you are probably thinking that this is the kind of thing that goes unnoticed. It does not go unnoticed. Here we go, people. Check out this article, 2018, not that long ago. Democratic lawmakers have raised concerns about the bankruptcy of Toys R Us, suggesting the iconic retailer private equity backers intentionally loaded it with debt that helped bring about its collapse. In a letter to the heads of KKR, Bain, Vornado, 19 Democrats, including Bernie Sanders, I'm looking at you, Bernie bros, get behind me on this one, said they were concerned that the firms deliberately chose the path of bankruptcy, okay? So people know that they did this, but is anyone going to get in trouble? Is anyone going to jail? Did what they do, was it even technically illegal, or was it just a bad guy thing to do to make 33,000 people lose their jobs, okay? Now, if you think like the whole thing is a goof and I'm making this up still, check this out. Toys R Us creditors sue former Bain Capital KKR execs. The people who are owed money are now trying to get some type of justice and retribution against these guys. It's too bad that they couldn't get some sort of like permanent prison for these guys. But even if any of these executives did go to prison, it would be a white-collar, lightweight prison, meaning they'd get to leave it every day. They would come back on good grounds, and it would just be like some sort of cottage mansion. Why? Because when you move millions of dollars around, you're more important than people who move $0 around, and they'll let you out and do whatever you want. So, what is the takeaway from all of this? I just want you guys to see that Toys R Us did not go out of business because of big box stores, video games, and e-commerce. In fact, some of you may have noticed that Toys R Us is already back opening stores again. That's right, before any of you toy guys could get together in the park in your black robes, light a candle, and say some poems and type of a wake for Toys R Us, they're already back at it. Why? Because it's a great brand. It's going to be around forever at this point. Just some shady characters got in there, squeezed the money out of it, crushed it, threw it away, and walked off with all that loot. That's it for this edition of the Action Figure-atorium. Thanks to everybody who made it this far in the video. If you're not liking and subscribing, maybe you're disliking and unsubscribing. Don't know. It's your choice. I'll take either one. Stay charged, everybody.